Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hi there, and welcome to today's show. I'm certainly glad you're here. Today, I am proud to introduce you to Penny Rosema, owner of Two Views International, where she is a professional speaker and consultant specializing in negotiations. Penny also is the managing director of the Cookware Manufacturers Association. Now, I met Penny last year at the Less Annoying CRM user conference. Less Annoying CRM happens to be one of the tools I and some of my clients use for our customer database. Well, anyway, Penny and I met and had a few brief conversations. Those brief conversations led into working with Penny, at first with just the Cookware Manufacturers Association, adding to her support team for that organization. And recently, in her personal branding, speaking, and consulting business, Two Views International. Now, I love working with Penny because she has such energy that I wish I could match. She says she's all over the place, but I admire her momentum and how she accomplishes so much. I invited Penny to the show to share her experience of how she moved from her corporate life to becoming a solopreneur. I think you're going to love the episode because she has some great insight and tips in how she manages her business and her time. So let's dive in, shall we? Welcome, Penny. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here too, Gayla.
I'm going to go right into the interview and ask you to tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you. A little bit about myself. I am the managing director of the Cookware Manufacturers Association. It's an association of manufacturers that make cookware. Go figure. Think of people like Lodge Cast Iron, All Clad, Tefal. And it's about a $4 billion business for cookware and bakeware manufacturers in the U.S. And I've been in this role, this will be going on my fourth year. And I am the managing director as an independent association management company. So that's my entrepreneurial part of it. I am a management company and I'm helping run their association. That's one role that I serve. The second role that I have is I'm a professional speaker. I speak on negotiations, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But prior to doing what I'm doing now, I worked for 38 years in the manufacturing world, supply chain, procurement, project management. And, over those years, different things happened in my career, a lot of reorganizations, and sometimes you can see the career dissipation light going on. And so I started to think about what I might like to do if I no longer had that role with the golden handcuffs. So before I lost my job, I, started a professional speaking business on coaching on negotiations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But so I had a background in procurement and supply chain and project management and a lot of negotiation experience, a lot of coursework that I took. My undergraduate degree is in engineering and my master's was from, Notre Dame and an MBA. So while that career dissipation light was going on, I was kind of starting to lay some groundwork. And one hint for anybody out there that's thinking about starting their own business that hasn't started it yet, I had a good friend that was already in the same role, and I was looking to her for advice, and she gave me a book to read, which was Don't Quit Your Day Job. I was so disappointed. I'm like, oh man, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to go out and try this new entrepreneurial role, but it's a great book. So anybody that's not in there yet, read that book because I think it lays a great groundwork for you. It helped me while I was still employed to get a lot of things settled and paid for. And, I started, created an LLC. I thought about and talked about, when I had a difference in income, how those bills would be paid, what bills would be paid. We'll talk about how it's nice to be an independent entrepreneur because you're your own boss. But the truth of it is you still have a boss, and those are the bills that you have to pay. So there's still something kind of hanging over you that you got to get the work done every day. It's just a different boss. That was what I learned out of that book, Don't Quit Your Day Job. It's not a recent book, but it was very valuable. So I live in Michigan. I'm married. I have one son and two bonus sons, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So that's a little history on myself, Gayla.
Awesome. So that book was telling you how to lay the groundwork before you even left your job. That is fantastic, because I have been talking with a lot of folks about, if you want to have a career shift or if you want to start something, the perfect time is when you're still employed, because you're not so stressed of, oh my gosh, I need to make this certain amount. It really gives you a great foundation for when the job is no longer there, or when you can leave your job on your own terms. Don't feel
Right.
trapped. I
Right.
love that.
And even today, Gayla, there are so many people that, might be in a situation like I was where, you really like your day job, but you're just seeing things change. Companies are being bought, and then all of a sudden accounts payable is combined with somebody else, and there's cuts. And it used to be, when I was growing up, you worked at a company for a really long time and you were kind of guaranteed some employment, but it's very different world out there right now. So I think anybody has to have some alternate plans, and being an entrepreneur is a great alternate strategy if you're prepared.
Yes, yes. Now, you told us a little bit about your experience that made you become a negotiation expert. How did that come to be?
It kind of evolved, and it's a really interesting journey. And that's where, for your listeners, and they're thinking about, something else that they want to do. Maybe they don't know for sure what it is, but kind of look at what really lights your fire. What are you passionate about? And is there some way to make that into some income, right? So my first career obviously was in manufacturing, and that long stretch working, a good portion of that was in a strategic sourcing role. So we were buying and negotiating for items that was temporary labor, packaging, capital equipment, event planning things. This organization had a big distributorship, where they did recognize new sales roles, obviously. So it would be $1 million events that would be at Disney World convention or something. So I had a really great background in a variety of experience in negotiating a variety of different items. And quite frankly, I fell in love with that buyer role, that strategic sourcing professional. I love that part of my career. And while I was still working, about midway through my working career, I happened to join Toastmasters. And that's an organization that helps you work on your presentation skills and speaking. And you're challenged with creating a number of presentations before your peers, and then they give you feedback on how well you presented. And by the way, I highly recommend Toastmasters. It's a wonderful organization if you have any kind of presentations that would either like to do or are scheduled to do regularly. What I found I did was I was often talking on the topic of negotiations. Now that eventually evolved to an opportunity to teach an MBA courses at a local university, Grand Valley State. And then that kind of led to speaking professionally for other associations, paid speeches. Go figure. That was, a really nice transition initially. And then I joined the National Speakers Association. All those things kept evolving. And those are all things that I was doing while I was still working full time, kind of dabbling in, well, gee, what happened if I lost my job? And I continue to the blogs and books and podcasts, everything that I can on negotiations. I'm constantly, reading. It's just fun for me. It's not work. And so if you're someone that's at an entrepreneurial level and looking for that, that's what you kind of want to go for, is things that, because there's stuff you got to do every day. And when you're picking your entrepreneurial path, pick something that you enjoy doing, would be my information. Does that kind of help explain how I
yes.
negotiation expertise?
Yes, absolutely. And being a solopreneur, because both with the Cookware Manufacturers Association and your speaking business, speaking and coaching business, you're an office of one. So
Yeah.
what does your typical day look like?
My typical day, for me personally, I'm a regimented, type person, and I'm an early riser. I go to bed fairly early, 10 o'clock at night. You better don't try and call me at 10 because I'm not going to be real coherent. I get a little grumpy when I get tired. So my day starts, 5, 6 a.m. I have a walking partner that I walk every morning with. I have my breakfast. I have a meditation routine, which for me has been extremely valuable and just kind of clearing my mind and clearing my day, getting ready for the day. I spend time writing. I'm working on a book, a negotiation book, Negotiate Like a Boss. So I spend time writing and prepping for any negotiation coaching calls that I might have coming up in that week. So that's the first part of my morning. By 9 or 9:30, I like to be in my role as the Cookware Manufacturers Association managing director. When I get up in the morning, I get up, I shower, I get ready, full makeup and dress. Now I'm dressed in shorts and a comfortable shirt. I don't have to wear business clothing. My wardrobe has dramatically, the cost of my wardrobe has dramatically gone down because I don't have to have a different outfit every day. I wear what's comfortable and I show up at my desk. By 9:30, I'm working on the Cookware Association. And then, thanks to Gala, my treasured virtual assistant, I've learned a great deal from her. And a couple of those things are access to some software, which is called Slack. If you're not already familiar with it, get familiar with it or talk to Gala about it, and Asana. I work with my virtual assistant on those tasks that are going on in Asana, but I also have loaded my own hot critical tasks and what deadlines I have for working with my support staff, which happens to be virtual assistant through Gala. So I go to the Slack or Asana and I look at my calendars, I look at meetings and, figure out where my day is, what is the priority. And I set goals for what is like, well, if I have a great day, what will I get accomplished? And I usually write down, 3 to 6 items. Some of those are long projects and I don't get them finished in that day, but that's how I set up my day. Now, what I really like about it is because I have family responsibilities. My mom is 86 years old. She lives on a 100-acre farm, 12 miles from me. I have doctor visits and just, keeping up the farm work that comes up in all times a day. I can get away from my desk for appointments or helping her or checking on her or turning the generator on when the power is out. And then I close my day. I come back to my desk sometime before I go to bed and I look at what goals were unfinished and what's up for the rest of the week. What do I need to prep with for the next day? And, for me, I work 7 days a week. Now I may leave at, 2:30 on a Tuesday to golf on my golf league, but I'm also working Saturday morning, from 6 to 9, right? So what's really nice about being an entrepreneur is you have your own schedule and there really isn't anybody you report to, which is the great part about it. But it's also the really challenging part about it. You don't have anybody you report to. So you got to get the work done. You got to pay your bills. You have to be disciplined about your schedule is my opinion on, how to have a successful, typical work day.
So is that your biggest challenge, is staying disciplined, or is there a different challenge of
It's
being
not,
a solopreneur?
yeah, it's not hard for me to stay focused. That's just the personality type that I
Mm-hmm.
am. My bigger challenge is managing my work hours. I actually use an hour tracker. There's hour trackers and a couple of different tools that you can use. And I use that for 2 reasons. One, to make sure I'm working enough hours and so for the Cookware Association that I'm giving them, the benefit of what projects I'm working on. I also use that hour tracker to help me not overwork, right? I do have a
Yes.
life and I need to take some vacation time and all that sort of thing. But I also use that hour tracker so that when I want to transition and pass especially this Cookware Association role onto someone else, I can say, this percent of your time is going to be spent doing on statistics. This percent of the time is being spent on, working on the web development and working on membership. So that's helpful from that way. The biggest challenge, back to the question, is identifying and not overworking. And then also identifying and finding and leveraging a virtual assistant, looking for ways to consolidate and streamline the workflow. What am I doing that's repeatable and where I'm replaceable?
analyzing the use of time in different ways and just trying. I know
Right.
you and I have been working together, and starting new things. And the start is always the bumpy part until we get into the routine. And then we are able to fall into this routine so that we can grow and do another bumpy part, start something new. And,
That's the bumpy part. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, because as the relationship matures, I think those bumps go through a little bit faster. And I would say another challenge would be, the first time you try and implement something that's repeatable and you can be replaceable, it's actually going to take a little bit longer than you just doing it yourself. But once you hand it off, now you have all that time free. So you have to discipline yourself to say, I've got to take the time to get to that point where I can hand it off. So I got to have my process in order and have something. And the better I am at doing that, I think we found, haven't we, Gayla, that the easier it is to hand off.
Yes. And I know for me, me personally, because even though I tell my clients, so what is this repeatable thing that you can delegate and everything, but I have to tell myself to not say, oh, it's just faster for me just to do it myself.
Yes. Yes.
Because long term, I'm just going to do everything myself, and there is no way to grow a business as a team of one. You mature your business enough that you need a team, that collectively you are able to, I love the words that you use, and I've started using it all the time now, leverage your time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we met, I didn't even mention where we met. We met at a user conference for the database that we both use. It's called Less Annoying CRM. Many of my clients have heard about it because I've talked about it, because I believe we all need a database. It's kind of a cute name, but Less Annoying CRM is fantastic for a business just starting out. They happen to have their first user conference, and we met there, and that brought us together because we both use the same type of tool, and so we could talk about how we used it in our businesses. That's how we started. I know that user conference was fantastic for me because it got me out to see a lot of different types of small businesses, and it gave
Right.
me perspective. And I think
Yeah.
that that's important for any small business owner to network, get outside. It was outside of my local community, and I got a whole different perspective of different businesses that I didn't even think about before that helped me grow. So I think networking is really important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And when you talk about challenges too on a solopreneur is, right, you didn't get into the solopreneur business because you just wanted to make, just when I reach this level of income, then I'm going to stop, right? That's all,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I want to make. I mean, your idea would be that it would be expandable, but you as an individual, there's only so many hours. On the public speaking side of the business that I do, I know when I go to conferences with the National Speakers Association, they say, get out a calendar and write down the number of actual speeches you could do. And that's the limit of your income, right? If you're just a public speaker and you're only going to charge, so much per speech, there's a limited amount of money that you can get in there. So if you translate that to our solopreneur business, if you're doing all the work, there's only so many hours, and there's so much time you can do billable hours for an income of some type. So you have to be creative. You need to reach out and find out ways that you can pass off some of that work. And quite frankly, the stuff that I don't enjoy doing as much, there are people out there, thank goodness, like Gayla, that have resources. People are like, oh yeah, we love to do that. Just flip that right over here. We'll do it. So yeah,
But not bookkeeping. Bookkeeping, I delegate because I don't like bookkeeping.
Yeah, me too. That's another one that I delegate. I have yeah. So yeah, it's been really fun. I'm excited about, especially working with you, of course, Gayla.
Well, what's your biggest reward? I think you touched on it a little bit, but what's your biggest reward about owning your own business?
I do, yeah, right. The ability to be your own boss. I mean, you can't downplay that as long as you manage it. But It's ability to control my schedule, basically. Now, there's certain deadlines and everything that we do, but I can do Tuesday afternoon golf, and I don't have to ask somebody, to go off for that time. And I've picked up a new fun sport, pickleball. If anybody's familiar with that, and there happens to be a wonderful pickleball court just down the street from me, and I can hop on my bike, I can go down there and play for a couple hours, and then, I'm all invigorated and pumped back up, and I can come back and work on a business. And, I really like being a small business owner. Yes, I have to pay my own insurance, and I have to, I take on a lot of responsibility in a lot of areas, but I really like being a business owner.
I love it. Yeah, me too. It is so rewarding on having that control, I guess, and that flexibility that you earn, and not having to ask permission is a
Yeah.
big deal.
But let me ask you this, Gail, would you go back to any kind of a structured corporate job?
No, and funny thing is, it's been about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I did get a call from a blast in the past. It was somebody said, "Hey, I've got a MRI center down south that's in trouble and was thinking about it." And I almost I almost threw up a little bit. It's like, "No." I don't think I could do that. But
I
I've been out
know.
of the medical billing because a lot of it has changed in the years that
Okay,
I've been out of the industry, especially with reimbursement stuff, all the regulations and stuff with
sure.
regards to imaging and reimbursement to the facilities. I I graciously said thanks, but no thanks. But even though even though I may not be at the exact income level that my goal is, because we're always stretching ourselves, I think I would die a little bit if I
I
went
know.
back.
There's that stress level. I mean, it's just, there's value in having that freedom. It's not to say that I'm against any kind of corporate work, because I'm not. I
No.
mean, it was a wonderful ride, and
Yes.
and for me, that's where I was able to get all of my negotiation experience. I mean, I couldn't do what I'm doing now if I hadn't been on the other side. So it was an important journey, but I'm real happy to be
Oh,
on the
yes. I
yeah.
have no regrets
No,
whatsoever.
no.
I'm in a different space now and a different phase of my life, and I love what I'm doing now and
Well, I
could
can
not
tell
go
you
back.
you do a great job at what you do, that's for sure.
I don't know about you, but sometimes being a solopreneur can feel lonely at times because I go into the office and I'm in front of the computer and everything like that. And I have ways to get out of that loneliness. Do you ever feel lonely as a solopreneur? And what are your resources to keep you motivated to keep going?
So, yes, it can. I can't say that I felt lonely, but I'm also already naturally a social person, so I work at my networking. I make that a priority. I have to leverage it because I don't have as much time to go to all kinds of networking events. So I make sure that they're valuable ones. And I would tell people that are interested in being a solopreneur, before you do it, while you're still working, start those networking events, right? Meeting people, and pay attention when you're at them. And the pay attention comes back to what you talked about. We met at that Less Annoying CRM conference, but we had to have a conversation, and we had to engage, and we had to say, oh, I think I'll follow up with her. And I don't remember how I followed up, but I made it a priority to reach out to you again, to have a further conversation. I have had one of my speaking professional buddies who speaks on networking, and that might be a call you might want to make sometime. I'll give you that information for him. But his key information is that when you're at a networking event, you often will just take their card, right? Well, his suggestion is, if you meet somebody and you're like, oh, we should have a follow-up coffee, or we should have a conference call sometime, get out your phone, get out your calendar, make the appointment right then. Are you free next Tuesday? I'll give you a call, or let's go for coffee, because that's where you'll actually follow up and get the best value out of your networking. So that was a big, that's a resource or a pattern that I use. Another big resource, again, I got to come back to virtual assistant, having another person to be able to just look at something before I send it out, because I'm alone and I read it and it looked clear to me, but I missed the date and time or something like that on something that I'm working on. I think we talked about one of the resources I use is tracking my time, to make sure that I am spending enough me time and family time, right? That I don't just get so caught up that I'm not paying attention to things beyond just that regular work week. I also am always working on myself for improvement. I actually have a writing coach. I'm working on a book, and my writing coach helps me keep focused and gives me specific timelines on things that I, have to work on. So those are kind of a couple of hints that I have on what I'm doing to keep from being too lonely.
Do you have any advice to my listeners if they want to break away from their regular 9 to 5, their corporate job, and they want to build their solopreneur business? What was the first thing that you did that was just valuable?
Well, if you have the ability and you're not blindsided by loss of employment and you're actually planning for this, read the Don't Quit Your Day Job book, because that'll give you a lot of baseline on it. My other big number one hint is, start before you quit, obviously. But in our community, there was a small business development center, and you could go there and get 3 classes or for very minimal on how to start a business. Highly recommend it. They sat me down, and I was with a cross-functional group, and we all wrote our business plan. And then we presented it to each other at the end of this, I don't know how many, maybe 5 or 6 weeks that we met for an hour or 2 a week. It's a humbling experience, because when you write a business plan, you start to figure out, is this going to be an expensive hobby? Or am I in business? Is this going to be something where I'm actually going to make money at? So you got to face some hard facts. And when you do that with someone like a small business association, I know there's different organizations out there that past business people will look at your plan and tell you whether it's going to work or not. So highly recommend that, so that you don't dive into something and make too much of an investment in it to find out that you didn't really have a good plan. The market you thought you had wasn't there. So 1 is business plan. 2 is schedule your day as if you're working for somebody else. If you don't happen to be, if you're the type of person that is a procrastinator, you're going to need to schedule something solid. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself playing pickleball and golfing every day and not getting your work done. And that will catch up with you very quickly. And then, number 3 on my list is look for helpful resources. We've talked about that already. Top of the list is a virtual assistant. And there, Gail, I know you have resources for how to pick virtual assistants. And on your website, you have a lot of information about that. And there's the Gala type of, virtual assistants. But I also have a virtual assistant that for my Cookware Association that helps me read through all my contracts for my special events. So that's someone I'm leveraging too as well, and also helps me pick these next. I do 2 events a year, once in Chicago and once someplace warm. And prepping up for those events, I use assistance in getting through those contracts and making sure that I don't overcommit or miss something in that contract. And that's somebody that works with them all the time. So virtual assistants. That Less Annoying CRM tool, again, falls under my 3rd, make sure you have helpful resources. Gala's introduced me to Asana and Slack. And those are just been priceless in communicating and not getting so overwhelmed with just email messages back and forth, but a strict way to communicate. So I guess it's, write a business plan. Make sure you schedule your days like you're going to work for someone else, because you really are. That someone else is the bills that are knocking at your door. And then the 3rd is make sure you leverage all your helpful resources. So does that help a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Every conversation that we have, I love working with you, Penny, and I learn so much and always get fired up and motivated every time that we talk. And you say, you're the fast talker and you're everywhere, and I'm kind of I'm a slow talking, even keel type person, but boy, you fire me up, and I just love it. So maybe that contrast complements each other. I can kind of reel you down.
To me, it's that calming effect. It's like, my son often says to me, "Hey, Mom, you're way up here. You got to bring her down a little bit." And just knowing I got a phone call scheduled with Gail, it puts a smile on my face, and it'll be all right. Just
Well, I appreciate you being here with me today. And how can we follow up with you? What's the best way to connect with you?
Well, I have a website which happens to be pennyrosema.com, and there's a contact form in there. People can reach out to me real easy that way. Rosema is spelled Rosema, like the flower Rosema. So it's pennyrosema.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. Again, fortunately, my name is pretty unique. I think there's only one Penny Rosema out there on LinkedIn. My business name for my professional speaking side is Two Views International, and that is my Facebook link, and my Twitter link is at Two Views INTL. But that's a little much. You probably have some connections that people can
Oh,
reach out.
yes. I'm
Quick
going
and
to
easy
have
way.
all your links in the show notes. So
Okay.
if you missed that, listeners, be sure to go over to the show notes for this episode and just click. It'll be right there. We'll have those quick links. So I
Thanks, Kayla.
appreciate it, Penny.
It's
Thanks
fun.
so
It's
much.
been great talking to you. I have great conversations, and totally encourage people to reach out to you for even just quick questions, because you've just been more than helpful and everything. And I look forward to seeing you in the conference. We're going to that conference again in October, right?
I know it's just in a few weeks. We'll
Yeah.
be in St. Louis at the Less Annoying User Conference. Less Annoying
Listen,
CRM.
yeah,
It is less annoying. It's
it
not an
really
annoying conference at all.
hasn't been so far. Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's interview as much as I did. I love the advice that Penny shared about the 3 steps to follow to starting your own business. First, plan. Sketch out your plan. Do the exercise of completing a business plan. 2, schedule time on your calendar. Clock in like you're working for someone else. And 3, look for resources where you learn and hold you accountable. It's just great advice. After our conversation, though, I was looking for that book that Penny mentioned, Don't Quit Your Day Job, and I have one little correction. The book is actually titled Quitter: Closing the Gap Between Your Day Job and Your Dream Job by John Acuff. Now, chapter 1 of his book is actually the title, Don't Quit Your Day Job. I wanted to make sure to mention that just in case you went out to Amazon looking for it like I did. But I have a link in the show notes, so it's really quick and easy to access. Well, thanks for joining me today. If you found the show helpful, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and even leave a review. Well, until next time, have a fantastic week.